if you want to see Mexico, that is the place to go. You know, it's the church, the plaza, the people, the small town vibe, las piedras empedradas, they call it, the streets, cobblestone streets, the church and all that. So it's a beautiful place, and they opened their hands to us, and we were able to film there.
We are back on the Zoo with an amazing filmmaker, Fernando Rodriguez, who has a very critically acclaimed short called Por Mi Hija, For My Daughter,
Yes.
Which you can catch right now on Amazon Prime, and it's also streaming on Tubi, which is free, by the way. Thank you for coming, man. Everybody's talking about this short and giving it good praise. So I haven't had the chance to see it yet. I will tonight. It'll be on my queue.
I hope so.
Tell us about what the short is about. It's about an immigrant experience, right?
Right. So the movie is based on a young couple from Mexico, a small town in Mexico, and they decide to come to the U.S. to look for the American dream. Once they're here, they realize that it's not what they thought. So you see that in the film, their struggle once they're here, and yeah, that's basically what the movie's about.
Is there any personal inspiration, family, friends that inspired you to make this film?
You know, as a Mexican American, obviously, you know, you're familiar with that type of thing, with immigration. You see it firsthand, especially me living in San Diego. San Diego borders Tijuana. Yeah. And you know, it's a huge border, and you see it. You know, I was a little kid. I'd walk home from school, and you'd see people. You can tell that they weren't from there, that they were illegal, you know, hiding behind trees or hiding behind, you know, trash cans, and sort of trying to find their way about, and you could tell that they were illegal. Wow. And all that stuff impacted me a lot. So I decided to, you know, as I started becoming a writer and started to make movies, all that stuff affected me, and I decided to write that story.
Yeah. I was going to say, it kind of reminds me of Bajo la Misma Luna.
Right.
Under the Same Moon with Kate del Castillo.
Right.
I don't know if you guys watched it.
I've seen it.
I was crying throughout
You did see it?
Huh? I saw Bajo la
I'm
Misma
glad you
Luna.
saw it.
Yeah. And I was crying, and I was like, wow, there needs to be more stories like this.
Right.
Right? Because I feel like it's for both audiences. People here can understand the immigrant experience, but people back in Mexico also need to understand it's not easy once you're here.
Right.
You know, because they do see you as like, oh, del otro bando, you know, from the other side. You're just from neither side at some point.
You're sort of
you know?
in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think I have a unique perspective on that, because I'm in San Diego, I'm an American, you know, my parents are from Mexico, so I have that unique perspective. I grew up in San Diego, but also with lots of friends in Tijuana. Mm-hmm. So I would go and I would visit them, and I would be in Tijuana, and it's a culture shock, you know, the first times that you go down there, and then you come back to San Diego and it's a whole other world.
Yeah.
So you would see that, and you know, and it's a unique perspective to have on that. So I wanted to bring that to the screen and show people, not only people from Mexico how it is here, but people from the U.S. who don't have that perspective, to see what it really is like in Mexico. That small town, the culture, the people, the food. You know, they don't leave because they want to. They leave because, you know, they don't have a choice.
Yeah. What was maybe one of the things that shocked you in Tijuana?
Shocked me. Just the vibrance, you know, the people, the food, the nightlife, you know, people, when friends come to visit me from Tijuana and they come to San Diego, and, you know, they'll come to my neighborhood and it's quiet and it's a small neighborhood, they'll say, wow, this is so boring. I couldn't live here, because over there, you know, it's so, everybody's with their families, with their friends, they're out. It's very lively. It's a very different way of living. So that's always shocked me a lot. Yeah, definitely.
I went to Tijuana recently with my grandpa, and I remember, I'm so naive, right? I used to go to Mexico every summer when I was like super little, and then that stopped. But I go to Tijuana, and I tell my godfather, I'm like, oh, I'd love to go to the top of that hill to see like the coast, right?
Right.
And he's like, maybe you shouldn't. And so it was learning that sometimes in these other countries, people that live on the hills are the ones that are more poor, because people that are rich live in the city. Whereas here, the people that are rich get to live in Beverly Hills and like in those. So I was like, oh, that was a culture shock for me. You know, just like the geography of
just
like,
little things that you see are, you know, definitely you start to realize how different it is.
Yeah.
And you know, when you go from one place to another, Tijuana to San Diego to Tijuana, you notice it, you know, especially as the years go by, you definitely start to notice different things in terms of the economy, in terms of the culture, in terms of the people. So, yeah.
What I love about the movie, too, is that I think it shows a different side, that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, which I think a lot of people can relate to. You know, you were born and raised in San Diego?
I was.
So and the movie was filmed there?
The movie was filmed in San Diego and in Mexico. So yeah, we definitely took advantage of that. We shot in Mexico for the first week, and then we went down to a small town in Mexico, all the way down in Jalisco.
Oh,
So,
what town?
It's called Jalostotitlan.
Oh, I've heard.
Jalostotitlan,
El pan de
Jalisco.
Jalos está bueno, eh?
Jalostotitlan.
Jalostotitlan, Jalisco. It's a beautiful, I mean, if you want to see Mexico, that is the place to go. You know, it's the church, the plaza, the people, the small town vibe, las piedras empedradas, they call it, the streets, cobblestone streets, the church and all that. So it's a beautiful place, and they opened their hands to us, and we were able to film there.
It's not like all the hippie tourists that took over Tulum, right? You know Tulum?
No. Yeah, of course I know Tulum.
It's basically
Yes.
like Ibiza. It's like a party town now. It's a big rave.
It's become Americanized now. You know, it's
I feel like all major, like Cancun is also like
well,
that.
that was
Cabo.
I remember in high school you would go to Cancun when you graduated high, which I did.
Yeah,
and it was just party. I mean, I barely remember the trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's happening. Now the whole not grass is greener on the other side. That's like a hard reality. I think a lot of immigrants have to come to terms with, and sometimes my family came from Cuba. Sometimes you ask, were we better off just dealing with the problems back home? That comes to,
That's a hard question to answer. It is, and I think in the film you see throughout the film, everybody's sort of trying to tell him not to go. Trying to guide him, trying to tell him that he has everything he needs there. But like you said, everybody thinks that if they come to the U.S., that they're just gonna, the money falls off the trees and the streets are paved with gold, and it's not like that. It's hard work, and they realize it in the film. And
do they now? All of us being involved as immigrants, family, one way or the other, is there the feeling that if maybe your life is not going to necessarily be improved, if you have children, their lives are going to be improved in this country? Is that also the mentality that they'll have a better life?
I think that's the goal. I think that's most people that come here, they're seeking a better future for their children. Leo and Emma come to the U.S. because he wants to give his daughter a better life. So I think that was the goal in the end, is to do that, and I think that's everybody's searching for.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for coming by.
Thank you guys for having me.
See you soon. We'll be right back on The Zoo.